Sorry,
I'll stop that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another section of this sequencing class. So today I'm going to give you a tutorial on high performance computing as well as Unix. So first of all, let's talk. I'll give you an overview of what we're going to cover today. So first, I want to talk about high performance computers. So this is going to be either Big Purple for NYU Medical Center people or Prince for NYU Downtown. Then I'm going to give you a quick introduction to Unix. And then the rest of the class, we're going to spend trying to connect to Big Purple or Prince and try running a few Unix commands that I'm going to show you today. So first of all, I hope you all got access to Big Purple. And here in gray, I'm showing you the things that you should have done before the class. So first of all, it was to set up an account on Big Purple. And mostly I'm going to talk about Big Purple because Big Purple and Prince run the same system. So whatever is relevant to Big Purple, most of it is going to be relevant to Prince. And then for Big Purple people, if you're not on NYU Medical Center network, you had to install Big IPH client and check whether you have access before trying to log into Big Purple. So I hope you all done that. And then the third thing that I needed you to do is, well, if you are using a Windows computer, you had to install and configure PuTTY. So PuTTY is the SSH client that we need to use to log into Big Purple if you are running a Windows machine. So now let's try first things first. Let's try to log into Big IPH client. So I'm going to show you how to do this, at least so you will get an idea whether you're doing it right or wrong. So if you open the Big IPH client, you need to type in your Kerberos ID and then your Kerberos ID password or your email password. And then you press login. And then you ask it to either call you or enter a passcode. So I usually ask it to call me.
We're not expecting this call. Please hang up. Otherwise, press any key on your phone to log in.
So I press any key to log in.
Goodbye.
And then you can see that I'm connecting to the remote client. And as soon as it turns completely red, it means you're connected. So here it shows you're connected. So you're good to go. Without connecting to the remote client, you won't be able to access Big Purple if you're not on NYUMC network. So also, please make sure you're able to access terminal and know how to open PuTTY. So I hope you played with it a little bit before the class. And the other two useful things I want to show you is two wiki pages, one for Big Purple and one for Prince. And I would advise Big Purple people to use both links because Prince wiki has a lot more interesting things and you can look through them, and there are a few tutorials there that you can try. And I think overall this is a very, very good resource for you to learn not only how to log into HPC cluster and how to use it, but also how to run Unix commands. So now let's talk about why do we need HPC. So first of all, HPC is a high performance computer. So for example, Big Purple, it's a NYU Medical Center cluster, as I stated before, or Prince, which is an NYU Downtown cluster. So pretty much it's not just one computer, it's several computers aggregated together. So it's pretty much describes a huge computer that consists of several other computers. And why we do that? It's done because we want to achieve better performance than your local computer. Since we're all going to analyze RNA-seq data, we all need access to high performance computer because big data analysis requires more computational resources that are available on your local machine. For example, sequencing data. Whenever you have, let's say, RNA sequencing data, you have huge files, and it requires a lot of more memory to store them, as well as a lot of computational power to analyze them. So you need to know Unix to be able to communicate with a high computing cluster. So Unix is sort of a language to communicate with HPC. And then the other thing is that both Big Purple and Prince clusters use Slurm as a resource manager and job scheduler. So again, if you're using Prince, everything I'm gonna show in Big Purple is gonna be relevant to the Prince as well. And here on the right, I have a picture of how high performance computers look like. So it's pretty much a room with a lot of computers in it. So now let's talk about Big Purple, what it consists of. So it consists of several different computers, so we call them nodes. So first you establish a secure connection from your own computer to Big Purple. And you usually establish a connection with a login node. So there are 4 login nodes on a Big Purple. Then we also have head nodes, auxiliary nodes, compute nodes, and some other type of nodes as well. Most importantly, I want you to pay attention that there are login nodes and compute nodes. So these are the most 2 important nodes that you need to know. And then it sort of communicates, all those nodes communicate with the storage, which is located on the East Coast, where all your data is stored. And the data is also backed up on the West Coast. So if you accidentally delete some huge files that you cannot recover by yourself, you can contact HPC and ask them to sort of get your files back into your account. So now let's talk about Unix. So in order to communicate with high computing cluster, you have to have Unix. So this is a very good language. It was developed by Bell Labs in 1970s, so it's been around for more than 50 years. It's a multitasking and multi-user computer operating system, meaning that several users can be logged in at the same time, performing different tasks. They can see and get access to different files, depending on the permissions of those files. And then Unix runs only on command line. So you have to run Unix when the graphical user interface is not available. And for HPCs, usually there is no graphical user interface, so you cannot just open your local machine and click on a folder and it's going to show you all the files in it. You have to specifically type the commands in order to communicate with HPC. And the other important thing is that most of the bioinformatics tools do not have a graphical user interface. And this is why we need to know Unix in order to run them, either on our local machine or on high computing cluster. Also, Unix is very easy to use. They're very short commands and they're easy to memorize. Unix is very efficient. It's usually very fast. Sometimes you need to create a reasonably big script, let's say in Python or in R, to achieve something that you can do a Unix with just a 1-line command. And the other advantage of Unix is that it can run on any computer. So now let's talk about the Unix shell. So you communicate with a Unix computer through a command program known as shell. So in your case, it's going to be either terminal or PuTTY. So the shell, what it does, it interprets the commands and that you type on the keyboard. And there are a lot of different shells that are available for Unix computer, but we're going to use the simple one, the simplest one, which is bash. So now let's try to log in. So first, I hope you already tried to get remote access. And then if you will need to open terminal. So I'm gonna show everything for the Mac computer because I have a Mac and I don't have Windows. But for Windows, everything is gonna be pretty much the same. The only difference is that you're gonna be using PuTTY. So the easiest way to find terminal in your Mac computer is you just search for it. You just type terminal, and the first hit is that's your terminal. Here we go. So you opened it. And now let's try to connect to Big Purple. And for that, you should type SSH. So that stands for Secure Shell, then space, just one space, then your Kerberos ID. So mine is AV1936. Then add bigpurple.nyumc.org and press enter. So make sure that after SSH, I have only one space and then the address of the cluster. I don't have any spaces between any of the names. It's very important because Unix is very unforgiving when it comes to spaces as well as typos. So you need to make sure that you are typing everything correctly. And then it asks you for your password. So this is the same password as you use to log into your email address. So then you type your password and you're supposed to be in. So as soon as it shows your Kerberos ID, add Big Purple and then LN, and here there should be a number from 1 to 4. It means you are logged in. And now I think it's time to give you a couple of minutes to try to log in. And Lisa, if you please could run the poll, how many people can successfully log in to Big Purple? So, and in case you are not able to log into Big Purple, you can run Unix commands on your local machine just without connecting to Big Purple. Because what I'm going to be showing you today is just some simple things that you can run without establishing a connection to Big Purple. However, for Thursday, I would recommend you to solve all the issues that you encounter, because on Thursday, I'm going to be showing you how to run jobs on Big Purple, and for that I need to make sure that all of you have access to it. Here we go. And here I also show how to log into Prince. So if you are at NYU downtown, so you can just type SSH, your NYU username at prince.hpc.nyu.edu. And it's gonna ask you for password. It's gonna be the same password that you use for nyu.edu email, and you'll be able to log into Prince. Okay, so there is a question about the quota. So once you log in, you can see the quota of your home directory. So when you just logged into Big Purple, you are in your home directory, and it shows you the quota. So in your home directory, you have only 100 gigabytes, and you can upload only 40,000 files. However, if you have a lab directory, usually lab directories are bigger, and you can upload way more files to the lab directories. So Lisa, if we can please get the poll results, if a lot of people have participated.
Yeah, so it's saying about 80% have voted. 57 people said that they were able to log in. 11 people said that they were not able to. So.
Okay, so this is a good number.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that a lot of people were able to log in. That makes my job easier. So, and once you log in, you can start typing simple Unix commands. So let's type ls and press enter. In your case, if you never logged into Big Purple before, this is you right now in your home directory, and your home directory is supposed to be empty. So if you typed ls and you didn't get an error, it means that your directory is simply empty. So ls literally stands for list. It lists what is in your current directory. And by directory, by the way, I mean folder. So this is how Big Purple is organized. So we have directories, which are pretty much folders. And if you type PWD, which stands for present working directory, it's going to show you your current folder you are in. And in this case, mine shows me GPFS home AV1936, meaning that currently I'm in my home directory. So, and let's talk about what is home and what is GPFS. So home is an sort of higher directory, higher folder. And then home directory is inside the GPFS folder. And my directory is inside the home directory. So if you type CD and 2 dots, try it, it's going to take you to the home directory. CD stands literally for change directory. Then space, and if you type ... it's gonna take you to the parent directory of your current working directory. So my directory was initially AV1936. I type CD ... and then you can do PWD, again, present working directory. And right now you're in the home directory. And here, if you're gonna do ls, you're gonna see all users of the Big Purple cluster. So there are a lot of users that you can see here. And one of those users is you. So, but keep in mind that you cannot access other users' files because of the permissions. You're only allowed to access your own home directory. And to go back to your home directory, you either type, in this case, the name of the directory, which is your Kerberos ID. You type AV, so in my case, I would type AV1936, and I'm in my home directory. However, there is a shortcut. Let's say I go to the home directory again. And if I type just CD from any location on Big Purple, it's always going to take you to your home directory. So right now, if I type PWD, I am in my home directory. So now let's talk about a little bit about changing directories. So let's say, again, you want to get from home directory to any other directory, but in this case, we're going to again use your home directory. So you can type this, you can type CD, and then /gpfs home, and then the name of the directory. And it's going to take you to your home directory. By the way, the tilde sign right here stands for your home directory. Whenever you see this tilde sign, it means you're in a home directory. So you don't even need to type pwd. But in case you change directories, you're going from one place to another on Big Purple, you will, in case you get lost, you can always type pwd to figure out where are you at currently. So, and there is another way that I just already, that I showed you already. So to get to your home directory, you can type the name of the directory and it's going to take you to your home directory again. So what's the difference between this command and this one? So this one is using an absolute path. Path is a sort of an address of the directory, address where your files live, the files that you want to access. And this is a relative to your current, relative path to your current location. So I have one slide on explaining the difference between absolute paths and relative paths. So first of all, path is an address to your file. You can have files named the same way, which I don't recommend, in different directories. So you need always to supply it sort of address. But how you give it an address, it depends whether you want to give it an absolute path or whether you want to give it a relative path. So all absolute paths start with a /, all of them. And then the relative paths do not. So compare it to the physical address. Let's say you want to give an absolute path of your home address. You're going to start with /universe / Milky Way galaxy, solar system, planet Earth, United States, New York State, New York City, and so on. You're going to give your home address. But in case you're already in New York State, you don't need to give it your absolute address. So you can just say, I live in New York City, and then provide your home address. So this is going to be a relative path. The main thing here to remember, absolute paths always start with a /, while you don't need to do it for the relative paths. So remember, the path is the address to your directories and files. So let's go back to Big Purple. So we tried a few things. So now we are gonna try to go to a different directory than your home directory. So if you type cd, then space, then we're gonna provide an absolute path. So let's say cd gpfs, then data, courses, and then bi20. So make sure there are no spaces between the directory names. And if you hit enter, you're going to be in B20 directory, which is a directory for our course. And then try to type ls here and see what kind of files it's going to show you. So there should be two files. There should be chime make table.sh and raw files. So raw files is a directory. It's colored slightly differently. And the chime make table is just a script, which is just one file. And notice the difference in color. So when you looked at all user directories in the home directory, they were all blue because of the permissions, it meaning that you cannot access them. When the files are green or the directories are highlighted in green, it means that you do have the permissions to access this file or directory. Now let's talk about another interesting thing which we are going to use, which is different flags. And by flags, I mean options. So all of those small commands on Unix system have options. And let's say you want to know what kind of permissions those files have, whether these files are directory or a regular file, and how big they are. So you can type ls and then lh, and it's gonna show you the permissions to the file. So currently it's open to everybody, and I'm gonna talk about permissions a little later. So right now, what you need to know is that if you see a D right here in the beginning, it means it's a directory. And then it also provides you how big are the files, so, and who owns the files, who created the files, and how big they are. So these files are relatively small. And by the way, for directory right now, it doesn't show you the files inside of the directory. It just shows you how big is the directory itself. It doesn't show you, it doesn't incorporate into this number how big the files are in the directory. So now let's try to go to this raw files directory. So if you do cd raw files, so this is a relative paths to the raw files directory. So I just do cd raw files because currently I am in the I-20 directory. And here, well, when you switch to the cd to the raw files directory, you can type ls. And here you're gonna see 3 nice fastq files. So they're all green because you're all supposed to have permissions to them. Okay, let me quickly check some of the what people are talking about. Okay, it's mostly about access. So again, if you still don't have access to Big Purple, please contact HPC. Right now, what you can do, you can browse your own computer. So if you open a terminal, it's not necessarily you need to log in to Big Purple to run Unix commands. You can run Unix commands on your local machine. So now, how do you see what's inside each of the files? So there are several ways of doing that. One of them is you can type cat. No, actually, we're going to type head first. Head, and then the name of the file. In this case, it's 376 fastq or 7. Doesn't matter which file. And if you hit the enter button, it's going to show you the first 10 lines of this file. It literally just shows you to the screen like the first 10 lines of the file. And in this case, this is a fastq file, so it shows you the sequences as well as the quality of the reads. Now, if you type head 100, it's going to show you 100 lines, and these are all 100 first lines. Now let's try tail. That's a different command. So for tail, it shows you the last 10 lines of your file. So when you type tail and the name of your file, it's going to show you 10 last lines of your file. Now, how do you see more of your file? So let's say your file is relatively small. So if we cd up to the BI20 directory and to cd to the parent directory, again, you need to type cd ... And here, if you type ls, there is another file which is called chime-make-table.sh. What you can do, you can see all, like the whole file at the same time. So if you do cat and then the name of the file, notice this space between the name of the command and the name of the file, and you hit enter, you're gonna see what this file contains, and it's gonna show you all the lines in this file. So cat literally stands for concatenate to the screen, or show the content of the file on the screen. So now, let's go back to our raw files directory. So in case you don't want to see the whole file, so let's say the files are huge, and FASTQ files are usually pretty big. So right now you see that this is the smallest one is 250 megabytes, so meaning it's a pretty big file. So, but usually you're gonna see FASTQ files even bigger than that. Some of them can be several gigabytes. So you don't want to see the content of this file on your screen at the same time. And now there are two commands that you can use. So it depends which one you choose, pretty much, if you are an optimist or a pessimist. So these commands are called less and more. So if you type less and the name of your file, it's gonna show you one screen at a time. So when you keep pressing enter, it's gonna show you another screen of the file content. And now how to get out of it, you press Q, stands for quit, and it gets you out of it. And the same thing you can do with more. So for more, you press more, you type more, space, and then the name of the file. And you see the same thing as with less. The only thing here, if you press return, it's gonna give you content of the file line by line. But here is the sort of the same idea. And when you're gonna try to get out of it, you just press Q on your keyboard, and you get out of there. So now let's talk about some other interesting things you can do on Big Purple. Most importantly, let's talk about man command. So let's say you type man ls, and man literally stands for manual. And in case you don't know how to use a specific command, you can always type man and the name of the command, and it's going to show you how to use it. So in this case, it shows you what it does. So the name of the ls, and it lists directory contents. And then it shows you all the options available. So you can type, let's say, an A, and it's gonna show you all the hidden files. And there are some more flags that you can use depending on what kind of task you are trying to perform. So, and to escape, you press quit again, so Q on your keyboard, and you get out of man. So now I showed you some things. So let's try to copy one of those files to your home directory. So let's say, the copy command is this one. It's cp, then the name of the file. I think it would be good if you copy the first one because it's the smallest one. And you copy it to your home directory. So if you can just type tilde and slash, it's supposed to copy the file in your home directory. And if you hit enter, if it doesn't show you any error messages, this means that you actually successfully executed the command. Or if it shows you just a plain white line, it means that it's executing a command. By the way, let's talk briefly a little bit about login nodes and computing nodes. So currently we're doing everything in a login node, which is not advised because if too many people are running jobs on a login node, it's not going to work for everybody else who is trying to log in. So on a login node, you can run only commands that you see the output for right away. Let's say ls command, but you want to list the content of your directory, or some quick renaming commands, or the change directory command. That you can do on the login node. But when you are going to be running jobs that require a lot more computational power and they're going to run for longer, we are going to log into the computing node, and that's probably going to show you how to do on Thursday, or you can submit a job, and that's also going to show you on Thursday. But just remember, if you are running very intense commands, the ones that take more than a second, please don't run it on a login node. So, and right now I show you all the simple commands just to make sure that you know how to navigate Big Purple. So I copied this file to my home directory. And then to go to my home directory, the shortcut is just CD and you press enter. And currently you are in your home directory. Again, tilde right here stands for the home directory. And here you type ls, and you're supposed to have this file over here. Now, let's talk about how to get yourself out of trouble. Let's say you made a mistake, or you decided to concatenate to the screen a very big file. Let's say I'm going to try this one. And you see it's running and running and running forever. And how to get yourself out of it, you press Control-C. And it stops. So whenever you type in command that runs endlessly, or you already know you made a mistake, Control-C is a way to go. It's going to get you out of any trouble. So now, let's see what's going on in the chat. Maybe I can answer some quick questions. Okay, so we're all still talking about logging in. Yes, login node is a very important point. Or where do those FASTQ files come from? This is just publicly available data that I downloaded. So I'm going to show you how to download the publicly available data. And also I probably can show you where the data that processed by the sequencing core is stored. Actually, let's be a little adventurous and see what are in GP FS directory. So again, if you type present working directory, so you're in your home directory and you're trying to get to GPFS, you can give it a relative path. So you can do CD, then ... to get to the home directory, and then another ... like /... to get to GPFS directory. And currently it shows you that you're in GPFS directory. So this is sort of your universe. So this is the highest directory on the cluster. If you do ls, so here there are a lot of different folders that you don't have access to probably. But let's say you want to get to your lab directory. So lab directories are all in this data directory. So if you cd to data and then type ls, it's going to show you all the lab directories currently on Big Purple. Of course, you cannot go to all of them. You only have access to your own lab directory. And if you don't have access to your own lab directory, you'll have to contact HPC. and they will give you access. So let's say I am a member of Kelly Ruggles lab. So if I cd to Ruggles lab directory, it's going to let me in, and I can see what other things are in here. But for you, if you're going to try to cd to the Ruggles lab directory, most likely you're going to get an error, which is going to say permission denied. Means you don't have permission to access it. Okay, the other interesting directory in the data directory is data sequence. And in sequence here, this is where you get all sorts of sequencing from our core sequencing facility. So, and it's usually stored in sequence and then results. But right now, it is also organized by the lab. And if you go to your lab, maybe you're going to get access, maybe not. So, and those files, they have only read permission. It means you cannot modify any of those files for a good reason, because you don't want to lose your data. Speaking of losing data, let's talk about how to get rid of the files and how to create the files as well. So let's go to our home directory again. So you type just cd and it takes you to your home directory. Just in case, to make sure that you are in the home directory, you type pwd, and currently you are in your home directory. And then what's in it? All of you are supposed to have this FASTQ file. So, and, but let's say you want to create some more files. You can do it in several ways. Let's say you want to create an empty file. You use this command called touch. And let's say you call your file test. And since nothing happened, it didn't give you an error, it means this file was created. And if you type ls, here's your file, test.txt. Now, if you want to see what's in the file, you can do test cat test text, and there is nothing in this file. That's why it gives you an empty line. Now, let's try to remove the test file. Be very careful with this remove command. It's rm, and then space, and then the name of your file. So if you just remove the file, you're gonna, if you hit enter, the file is removed. And there is no trash can, no nothing. So pretty much this file can be lost forever if you remove it. So be very careful with this command. However, please do remove files that you're not using, because, you know, Big Purple is not unlimited. So we have a particular amount of memory that we can use. And for your home directory, it's only 100 gigabytes. So in case you are not using these files at all, just delete them. So now, let's try to create a directory. So this is how you create simple files. And everything that is not a directory is a simple file. So even if it's a script that you are trying to run some job in, it's still gonna be just a file. So for directories, you're gonna type make a directory, so mkdir, and then the name of the directory, you can call it test again. Here we go. And then when you press ls, here is your directory. Now, if you go to your directory, it should be empty. And now let's say you want this FASTQ file in your test directory. So you're gonna cp, and then you're gonna do the, let me copy the name of the file. And it's supposed to give you an error. Missing destination, or actually, sorry, cp, and to this directory, you can actually just type dot, and it means copy this file to this directory, but it's going to give you a different error anyway. That's the error. No such file or directory. This is the most common error people get when they start working on Big Purple. So it means that the file you're trying to call is not located in this directory. So whenever you type just the name of your file, it looks in your current directory whether there is such a file. And since there are none, because right now you're in a test directory, you're not in your home directory, so it doesn't see it. And then what you can do, you can say, you can modify your command slightly. You can provide your file a relative path by adding .. / in the very beginning. And when you hit enter, it's going to copy this file to your test directory. However, right now, if you go to your home directory, you have the same file with the same name in two different locations, which is not advised. So, and I would recommend either renaming the file, or if you don't need the file in two different locations, you can also do a different command. So let's say if I go to test and I will remove this file, I can move the file from my home directory to the test directory. And here it is. And right now, if you look what's in your home directory, you can also type ls ... to see what's in your parent directory. The file is no longer in your parent directory. Now let's talk about maybe a few other interesting things we can do. So yes, let's talk about removing directories. So right now, let's say I want to try to remove directory. If I'm going to try to remove the test directory and I'm going to type the command I just showed you, if you type remove test, it's not going to work because it's going to tell you it's a directory. There is another command. Let's say I create a different directory called test2, and I'm going to try to remove it. And I'm going to try to remove it with a remove directory, and it's going to work. But however, if I'm going to try to remove the test directory with this command, it's going to tell you the directory is not empty, meaning that this rmdir command, remove directory, you can only use it for empty directories. If there is nothing inside your directory, then you can remove it with this command. Now, how do you remove directory that has a lot of files in it? So first, I want to move the file that's in the test directory. So, and from my home directory, I type move test and the name of the file. So here I'm giving it a relative path to the file. And I type dot, which means this directory right here. And right now I'm in my home directory, so it's going to work. And here it is, here's the file. And then you can do remove.r test, and it's supposed to work. By the way, in this case, because it was the only file, remove directory will work as well. So now let's try doing some other things and to try to create more files. So let's say I'm gonna put this file back into my test directory. So in case you're gonna try to move the name of the file to the test directory that's already made, it's just gonna move to the file to the test directory. But if there is no such file or directory exists, what the move command does, it actually renames the file. So let's say I'm gonna move, instead of moving it to the test directory, I'm gonna move it to test fastq. And right now, we just renamed our SRA file to the test fastq file. And then let's move this test fastq file to the test directory. Oh. Here we go. And by the way, another shortcut, if you're trying to access your previous command, you can just press an arrow on your computer to go up, and you can see all the commands that you previously typed. So in case you forgot which command you used before, you can always go up, 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 and you will be able to see all the commands that you typed. And the same thing if you go down, you're gonna see all the last commands that you typed. So now let's go to our, we're gonna, okay, so by pressing this, I just renamed the test fastq file to become a test file. That's not something I want, so I'm gonna move it back, rename it from test to test.fastq. Then I'm gonna create again the directory called test, because right now we removed that directory. So if you're gonna type kdir test, and we move the test fastq to the test directory. And then if we go to the test directory, it's supposed to contain the test fastq file. Now, the other good things to know is how to create files by other methods. So let's say you want some content of this file, let's say the first 10 lines in a different file. So you can do head test fastq. Again, this is a command to see the first 10 lines of the file. And then you can do this more sign, or sort of redirecting the output to a different file. So it's not gonna show you on the screen those 10 lines, it's gonna put it in a different file. And let's say this file is gonna be test2 fastq. Yep, and it worked. And now if you look at what kind of content the test2.fastq file has, it's going to be the first 10 lines of your original file, which is test.fastq file. So now the other things you can do is concatenating several commands in one line. So you can run several commands at the same time. So let's say I want to count how many lines are in test2.fastq file. So for that, we're going to use cat command, then the name of the file, and then let's say you want to know how many lines are in this file. And to know how many lines are in the file, the command is wc and then L, and it's going to give you the number of the lines in that file. So in our case, the output is 10. But you can also, not only to show that the output in your terminal, you can also put it in a different file. Let's say we're going to call the new file test3.fastq. And right now, if we're going to look at what's in that file, we're going to see 10. So this is a very useful thing to know, like how to pipe things. So meaning that first I execute another command, and then the output of the first command goes becomes an input for the second command. And then you can sort of redirect your output to a file. So let's other interesting things that I can show you. I showed you how to navigate Big Purple, and also how to create and remove files and create and remove directories. So let's see what's going on in the chat. Yes, you can rename and move files at the same time. That's possible as well. So let's do another thing, which is figure out how do you copy the files from your local machine to Big Purple and files from Big Purple to your local machine. First, let's say you want to copy this entire test directory to your local machine. So first you need to know the address. So what is the absolute path? You need to know the absolute address. And this is /gpfs/home/ and then your Kerberos ID. Then you either open a new window in terminal. Let's say I open a new window. So currently in this new window, I'm on my local computer. So if you type ls, you're gonna see all sorts of directories and files that your computer has in its home directory. So, and the command to get this test file, let's say to your desktop or anywhere else, you can just type scp, and then you need to use this R flag. It stands for copy recursively. So it's meaning that the whole content of the directory is going to be copied. By the way, when you copy a whole directory to a different location, you always need to use this flag. So you type scp, and then your Kerberos ID, then @ and then bigpurple.nyumc.org, and colon, and then this name of the directory. So this is your home directory, and from this home directory, you're trying to copy your test directory. And let's say you want it on your desktop. So you type desktop. So always when you copy files from one location to another, you have to provide it the location you're copying the file from and the location you're copying the file to. And if you hit enter, it's going to ask you for your Big Purple password. So you type in your Big Purple password. Why my permission is denied? Interesting. Here we go. And the content of the directory started to copy from Big Purple to your local computer. So, and whenever it finishes, it's just gonna stop, like you're not gonna see any of those percentages anymore. You're gonna see again a plain white line. So, and now how to copy your files from your computer to Big Purple, you pretty much switch these two things. So first you type the name of the directory on your local computer, and then you type the destination on Big Purple. And again, it's going to ask you for your password. So I think this is all I have for today. So on Thursday, we're going to continue and we're going to start talking about submitting the jobs to Big Purple and how to run interactive jobs and so on. So from this session, I just want to make sure that you remember two things. Number one, please never run big commands on login node. And the second one is that make sure that when you're trying to execute some sort of command and you're looking for some file, make sure that you provided the right address. The other thing, make sure that you type everything correctly and keep pay attention to things like spaces. It's very, the system is very unforgiving when it comes to spaces, as well as make sure that everything is, in this case, everything is in lowercase, because in Big Purple, the case also matters. And this is all I have for today. So in the very last thing, you need to get out of Big Purple. So you either type exit to get out, or you type log out without a space. And it tells you that the connection to Big Purple is closed. So this is all I have for today. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you again on Thursday.